for being here today. I am Ma'am Shaira and together with my groupmates, Sir Julius, Ma'am Perpetua, Ma'am Arneline, Ma'am Jessica, Ma'am Cory, Sir Robin, and Sir Gabo, our group would like to present the chapter 1 to 3 of our action research. To present the background of our study, topic and aims, and gives an overview of the paper, let me start with the introduction. COVID-19 has become a global health crisis. The higher education institutions pivot to modify forms of online learning attempts to concretize the government's stance to continue learning despite the pandemic. As the Philippines Department of Education, DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones quipped, education must continue even in times of crisis, whether it may be a calamity, disaster, emergency, quarantine, or even war. The Philippines Commission on Higher Education, on the other hand, advised HEIs to continue the deployment of available flexible learning and other alternative modes of delivery in lieu of on-campus learning. These pronouncements aim to encourage the continuance of learning. We continue to adjust to this new virtual learning environment, and even when leaders, teachers, and students are not together physically, the climate and culture of the school community continues to exist. If we do not take steps to actively shape our virtual school climate, it will be shaped for us. The term school climate covers everything from norms and values to the quality of relationships, celebration of diversity, physical and emotional safety, and rigorous teaching practices. Having positive, productive learning environments are key to students' academic, emotional, and social success in school. Unfortunately, positive learning environments don't just happen on their own, they must be created. Initial survey was conducted to assess if there were barriers in communication during Google Meetings of postgraduate students. Based on the initial survey conducted in Sacred Heart College, survey findings reveal that respondents have experienced barriers in communication during Google Meetings. Now more than ever, a positive school climate is necessary to help us maintain a school community that supports the well-being of faculty, staff, and students, and the continuation of high-quality instruction that is paramount to achieving educational goals. The study aimed to identify barriers in communication during Google Meetings of postgraduate students in Sacred Heart College. It is necessary to identify potential areas of concern, so there can be necessary environment or personal changes to improve communication during online classes. To set the direction of the study, here is the research statement of the problem. The study will focus on determining the barriers in communication during Google Meeting of postgraduate students. Number 1, what is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, civil status, and geographical location? Number 2, what are the barriers in communication during Google Meeting of postgraduate students in terms of physical noise, physiological noise, psychological noise, semantic noise, and cultural noise? Number 3, is there a significant difference on the barriers in communication during Google Meeting of postgraduate students when they are grouped according to demographic profile? Number 4, based on the findings of the study, what learning development guide can be utilized to lessen barriers in communication experienced by postgraduate students? To predict of what the study will find, our hypothesis statement is there is no significant difference on the barriers in communication during Google Meeting of postgraduate students when they are grouped according to demographic profile.
Conceptual paradigm. Figure 1 shows the conceptual paradigm of the study on the barriers in communication during Google Meeting of postgraduate students. In this model, we show the input process output or the IPO model that guided the researchers to determine the best tool that the graduate school students can use to help the interferences they are encountering during their Google meetings. So as illustrated in this paradigm, the input is divided into two parts. The first part is the compromise of the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of their age, sex, civil status, and their geographical location. The second part is composed of the different kinds of barriers that affect the graduate school students in terms of the physical, psychological, physiological, semantic, and cultural noise. The process part covered the collection of data, administering the self-made questionnaire, statistical analysis of the data, and then identifying what are the most common problems encountered by the respondent in terms of barriers in communication during their respective Google Meet sessions. And then finally, the output, which will be entitled Development of Online Distance Learning Guide for Postgraduate Students that will help them lessen the barriers in communication. The significance of the study. This study seeks for the answer of the best practices of the teacher on the new normal. To the administrator, this study will let them know the best practices of the teachers on the new normal that they can use, especially in the time of pandemic. It will also help to make intervention and enhancing their capability that is more suitable for the benefit of the teachers and students in Sacred Heart College, Lucena City. To the graduate school students, this study will let them know how will they manage, how to lessen the interferences that they experience. It also gave ideas to students to enhance their initial practices in the handling during the new normal education. And to the researcher, this helps them to know the best tools that they can use on the new normal in the time of pandemic.
Scope and limitation. This study is limited to the barriers in communication perceived by postgraduate students during Google meetings. The participants of this study are limited to postgraduate students enrolled in Master of Arts in Education and Master of Arts in Nursing at Sacred Heart College, Lucena City. Moreover, the study only covers the sub-problems such as first, identify the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, civil status, and geographical location. Second, identify the barriers in communication during Google meetings in terms of physical noise, physiological noise, psychological noise, semantic noise, and cultural noise. Third, determine the significant difference on the barriers in communication during Google meetings of postgraduate students when they are grouped according to demographic profile. And fourth, provide tools that can be utilized to lessen the communication interference experienced by postgraduate students. The time frame of this study is from August 27, 2021 to December 11, 2021. Descriptive qualitative method will be used in this study since this study puts major emphasis on the discovery of ideas based on the participants' experiences on the barriers and communication during Google meetings. The researchers use Google Form and gathering data from the respondents in order to determine the barriers in communication perceived during Google meetings. Definition of terms. The terms significantly used in this study are operationally defined below. They are listed as follows. First, communication barriers. In this study, it refers to anything that comes in the way of perceiving and understanding messages that one sends to another to convey ideas, thoughts, or any kind of information. These various barriers of communication block and interfere with the message that someone is trying to convey. Communication noise. In this study, it refers to any barrier to an effective communication process. The different types of communication noise are physical, physiological, psychological, semantic, and cultural noise. Physical noise, in this study, it pertains to the external and unnecessary sound that is an obstacle to effective communication. It also refers to the communication disturbance created by the environment. For example, raining sounds, thunderstorms, sounds from the fans, lights, windows, loud music, barking of dogs, noisy conflict nearby, and vehicle sounds are examples of physical noise. Next is physiological noise. In this study, it refers to a barrier created by the communicator's condition, usually an illness and weakness, having a headache, deafness and blindness, talking too fast or too slow, and the high or low temperature in the room are examples of physiological noise. While psychological noise, it refers to a communication barrier created from the communicator's psychological factors, for example, values. So beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors are also type of psychological noise. This type of noise interrupts our mind to concentrate on listening. Semantic noise, it is a communication barrier created from confusion over the meaning of words. It comes from complex technical or grammatical errors in communication. Semantic noise occurred because of the different meanings of the message between the sender and the receiver. It also refers to the wrong grammatical sentence that make the receiver unable to understand the meaning. And the last one, we have cultural noise. In this study, it is a communication barrier created from the wrong explanation of another behaviors. Cultural noise is created from the nonverbal communication of people from different cultural backgrounds. Example of nonverbal communication cues that affect the cultural noise include posture, gesture, eye contact, space, touch, dress up, and facial expression. Ethnocentrism, prejudices, stereotypes, and discrimination are also examples of cultural noise.